Well, hello everyone. As my last video of 2022, here's my belated celebration of 30 years of Kirby, which is one of my all-time favorite Nintendo franchises, so let's begin. The series had many people involved in its creation, but the two of the most notable ones included the likes of Masahiro Sakurai and Satoru Iwata, and their creation of Kirby's Dream Land in 1992 definitely helped give the Game Boy another notable hit and establish the series right on the get-go. Though the copyability had not yet been introduced yet, the world of Dreamland, its characters, and the platforming elements definitely were, with many of its features becoming current elements in some ways, shape, or form in subsequent installments, being like the boss Wispy Woods, as well as its main antagonist, King Dedede, which continued into next year, the next installment. 1993 saw Kirby's Adventure release on Nintendo Entertainment System, and even though the console was starting to show its age in the shadow of the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, this adventure proved there's still plenty of fun to be had with the system. It even made it onto the NES Classic, which definitely does not happen for no reason, and how enjoyable that game is, to say the least, and how it still held up remarkably well, and it also introduced copyability, which become a fixture of close to every subsequent installment, so there you go. While I have chosen to focus mainly on primary installments, I will just spin out stood out at me personally, with one example being with Kirby, his Dream Course on the Super Nintendo, which is actually basically a mini golf game where you use Kirby as the ball, and the designs of the course are actually pretty creative. Sometimes prefer arcade sports to simulation sports, and with that, I return to covering the main installments, so here we go. 1995 saw the release of Kirby's Dream Land 2, definitely enjoyable sequel to the first game, and also showing how even 6 years from its release, that the Game Boy still had plenty of surprises left in it, and this was definitely a solid follow-up to the first Kirby's Dream Land. Also introduces a character which I personally really enjoy, a karate master hamster known as Rick. I just love the ideal way to describe that, especially, and definitely it's not the only case where of Kirby showing the power of a system even as it was entering its twilight years. Case in points. 1996 saw the release of Kirby Superstar, which, even though this came out the same year as Nintendo 64 and about a year after the Sega Saturn and Sony PlayStation, it definitely even made one of the more engaging installments of the franchise, and even getting a fair amount of ports and remakes in subsequent generations, though I'm mainly focusing on original releases for certain titles, especially the ones I already brought up before in this video as well. 1997 saw the release of Kirby's Dream Land 3 on the Super Nintendo, which is, in my opinion, was the ideal swan song on that console, which was a year after the N64 came out, 2 years after both the Saturn and the PlayStation. Made the ideal swan song of being the last official release game for the system, and let's segue into what I'll be addressing next for the Nintendo 64. 2000, where we may not have we may have survived the Y2K bug, but Zero 2 proved to be an even more nightmarish threat in Kirby Crystal Shards Nintendo 64. It's a very cheery game on the whole. Even though some of the characters are rendered in 3D, it moves on a 2D plane, but I still kind of like the aesthetic they came up with. It actually adds to the whole art direction. And Zero 2 arguably rivals Gygas as one of the most frightening Nintendo bosses ever. From Earthbound. And it's also, I think, will be a nice little way to transition to another their interesting aspect of the franchise. 2003 saw a release of both the racing spin-off Kirby's Air Ride and the anime series in the US, Kirby Right Back at Ya, or otherwise known as Kirby with the Stars in Japan. The former, while not initially well received, has gotten a bit of cult following and even competitive circuits. The anime, however, I consider to be actually pretty entertaining, all things considered, and even in hindsight, and one of the better video game adaptations I've seen. If they want to adapt it again, if the Mario movies are a hit, I'm definitely very much open to the idea. Yeah. On top of remakes of previous installments and re-releases, the ensuing years would see Kirby return its channel roots, which included Kirby and the Amazing Mutant 2004, and Kirby Squeak Squad on the DS in 2006, which definitely help advance to an amazing year, as well as make something that squeaks out better mousetrap on a dual screen. Yeah. Not my favorite installments, but they're pretty fun, all things considered. Another interesting experiment came in the year 2010 on the Wii, with the release of Kirby's Epic Yarn, which eschewed the usual copy abilities in favor of actually having and most of the other adversaries made out of yarn, and you actually weave what you do, like everything from cars to UFOs to tanks even. The humor and the visual design are definitely very enjoyable, and there's no need to get irate about it. I mean, it even inspired similar ones for Yoshi subsequent titles, and even I saw released on 3DS in 2018, so that's got that going for it. So there you go. 2011, as we were creeping up in the 20th anniversary of this series, definitely saw some very interesting titles there on both the Wii and the DS. While Kirby Mass Attack was a pretty fun spin-off on the dual screen, the Return to Dreamland was very much in the vein of traditional Kirby adventure on the Wii, and it'll also be getting its own Wii version fairly soon. I'll get to that at the end of this video, so let's continue. As the 3DS continued its run into 2014, naturally got its own unique Kirby title, and on top of the spin-offs, which are too numerous to mention here, it also included a Triple Deluxe treat in Kirby Triple Deluxe, which definitely made some creative use of the console's hardware. And it may not be my favorite game in the system, but it definitely is pretty enjoyable, I would say. The next one, however, in 2016, definitely fits that distinction. 2016 saw the release of Kirby Planet Robobot, in which he ends up traveling to Planet Robobot and even having like a mecha, which ends up serving the bulk of the copy abilities this time as well, which not only is creative mechanically, but also in itself very fun. I mean, where you kick out logic and do the impossible, that's how Planet Robobot rolls. About a year after the release of the Nintendo Switch, the first main title came to the system in 2018, Kirby Star Allies. I mean, while this title received somewhat mixed reception, I didn't think it was that bad. At least understood why a lot of people were into it. But the next main Kirby title in the system, not counting and again release of spin-offs once again, was really the shot in the arm the franchise really needed, I would say. 2022 saw the release of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, giving the series an unforgettable leap to 3D. Much like Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Metroid Prime, and Pokemon X and Y, it's another Nintendo franchise meant to successfully transition to full 3D gameplay, making some pretty creative use of like the console's hardware, and even though I'll admit, after its first half-decade, it is starting to show its age to an extent, as a Corellian smuggler once said, still got a few surprises left in her, sweetheart. And that's also true of the game itself, which definitely takes the series in some new directions, as still retains its basic appeal, including a very disturbing final boss. Won't be spoiling it here to give an idea of how much it freaked me out, so yeah. In the release of Return Dreamland Deluxe, and many further years, sure to continue this being a staple in Nintendo's wheelhouse. I definitely hope to see more from our favorite Star Warrior. I mean, who knows? Maybe if this rumor is true about having like a GameCube online in the near future, perhaps we'll finally get a release of Air Ride. I mean, like I said earlier, or at least I was trying to, everyone knows about competitive circuits for Mario Kart and F-Zero, but would you believe there's a competitive circuit for Air Ride? Sounds crazy, but it's true. Anyway, that'll be all for now, and I will see you all again in 2023. Poyo.